Hello, welcome to the Zoom conversation for Dreamocracy in America. Please observe yourselves and say hello to old friends from Montreal, Brazil, San Francisco, Brooklyn, England, France, La Frontera, Mexico, Chirangolandia, and all points between. We will begin shortly as guests arrive. We will begin shortly. Wave to each other. Let's see you wave to each other. You can hear us. Wonderful. Think of the future. Think of your friends. Think of the larger community in which you are a member today. Think of the first time you saw Guillermo Gomez-Peña. Think of the last time you saw Guillermo Gómez-Peña. Think about your loved ones. Fasten your seatbelts. We will begin momentarily. We wish to welcome the Bronx, Chicago, Denver, and a hearty welcome to all our friends in New York. Columbus, Ohio, welcome. Washington, D.C., we welcome you. Hola de Chiapas, Mexico. Thank you for joining us, Glendale, Arizona. Morro Bay, California, is with us today. We will begin shortly. Rhode Island, New Orleans, our hearts are with you. Melbourne, Australia, San Antonio, welcome. Thank you for joining us, the hundreds of people here from throughout the world, throughout the globe, to see Guillermo Gómez-Peña, Los Angeles, Colorado, Australia, Brazil, a community of Guillermo Gómez-Peña fans. Let's see you raise your hands for Guillermo Gómez-Peña all over the world today.
I'm Victor Payan.
And I'm Pocha Peña.
And welcome to Dreamocracy in America. We are taking the gloves off today, practicing responsible social distancing, but we don't need them here. But this is a wonderful project funded by Creative Capital that is based on Alexis de Tocqueville, his book, Dreamocracy in America, that he wrote from when he came here to visit the United States. Sandra will tell us a little bit about Alexis de Tocqueville.
Alexis de Tocqueville, a French aristocrat that was tasked with studying the United States hospitals and prisons. And basically it was a study. The Europeans wanted to understand who these Americans were that were appearing in Europe asking for money. They didn't seem like Europeans, although they looked like Europeans. They seemed completely different culture-wise. They didn't have a sense of civic obligation. And so they sent over to Tocqueville. He got this grant and he covered most of the East Coast, all the way from our southern border into Canada. And he spoke to mainly landed white men, although he did have conversations with Native Americans and observed some of the cruelty of Black slavery in the South. His treatise, a huge volume, the first sociological study of America, was published in 1836. And really a lot of the things he foretold back then we're seeing come to pass today, that the brutality of the African-American population would deeply scar the community in ways that would linger for generations. The cruelty that was displayed and the brutality against our Native Americans was going to decimate them and practically into extinction. And certainly we've seen that happen. So we are picking up de Tocqueville's study and his thesis and carrying it through to the America that did not exist in 1836, past the Missouri border into the Southwest states, and all the way to the West Coast. So join us as we traverse this whole territory.
Yes,
the artists of our community.
We realize that democracy is not in a good state. The experiment is going haywire, it's going off the rails. And that for many years, a lot of the people that de Tocqueville did not talk to, the Native Americans, as Sandra mentioned, the LGBT community, women, dreamers, immigrants, are fighting the hardest to defend it. And that looks like you. You are on the front line of creating a new dreamocracy from all over the world. You have ideas that need to come to fruition. So we're having a series of conversations where we're defining dreamocracy, talking to people who are on the front lines, and no one is more on the front lines than our guest today, Guillermo Gomez-Peña. You know him as Mad Mex, the Mexterminator.
The border brujo.
Border brujo. And he is with us today from a semi-undisclosed location, somewhere in Aztlán. And we're very excited to have him here to talk to us about what his vision is for dreamocracy. What is his message to the world, to you, his community of amigos and amigas and amigoids. So we're going to have Guillermo here shortly. And
traversing all borders of body, mind, and spirit.
Traversing all borders of body, mind, and spirit. Are you with us, Guillermo?
Aquí estoy, carnal. Can you hear me?
Clear as a bell, a Liberty Bell.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Lokex. You're always willing to listen to my philosophical despair, which normally expresses itself through cheesy special sound effects like yes, this is the way English sounded to me when I was a kid. You know, Valitrónica and I had to escape literally escaped Mexico City a few weeks ago. On the day the government forbid non-essential traveling, we flew to Tijuana and walked into the US. We were welcomed by Bali's grandpa, Senor Ed, with a Lysol blessing. And here we are in a liminal zone at my wife's family home in San Diego. But since then, I have become a full-time laptop intellectual and stationary artist, and I'm getting tired of exchanging identities online. Verbigracia. In the past 8 hours, I have visited 12 countries without leaving this table. I have interacted with 36 subcultures from around the globe without experiencing any physical or political repercussions. I have spoken 7 made-up languages at least. I have been a man, a woman, and a transgender triple X. I have been Black, Asian, Mixteco, German, an alien raptor, a multi-hybrid replicant, everything but a pinche Republican. I have been 10 years old, 20, 42, 64, and I have managed to cross over from second to third life and back without passwords or documents. And if these weren't enough, I have visited at least 30 meaningless chat rooms and blogs with outrageous names like, midget sex workers from Veracruz commit collective suicide for CNN. Weird sites, carnales. Shit like blind evangelical ministers from Arkansas team up with the Scandinavian dominatrixes in their desperate search for heaven on earth. I mean, all this extreme virtual cruising makes me feel so inadequate and frail. And I am temporarily losing myself. I am lost within my cyber labyrinth. I am free falling. I would love to close my laptop I hit the streets in hopes of finding an open dive bar in reality number 1, but I can't. We're all quarantined.
We are all quarantined together tonight, Guillermo, a community of your fans and your friends. Tell us, how would you paint a picture of our political landscape today?
Wow. We may call it the post-democratic era, reloaded. The much touted Trumpocalypse feels like Armageddon 7.9, the end of empire, the death end of Western civilization. But let's make an inventory. North America and Europe, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, the sudden arrival of extreme far-right infiltrators in the mainstream. They are everywhere. Even here, right now, we just don't get to see them. Latin America, on fire. Australia, on fire. California, on fire. Journalists and women are under attack. The age of gun violence and weekly massacres promoted by the White House. Police brutality targeting the Black and brown youth. Crime cartels controlling half of Mexican and US territory, yes, including Big Pharma and the HMOs. Blah, blah, blah. And blogging, extreme of consciousness, blogging, anti-immigration, anti-refugee hysteria, the militarization of real borders, children in cages, transsexual assassinations. What else? ¿Qué más, chingao? ¿Qué más? The heart-wrenching separation of migrant parents from their children, caravans of bad hombres, malas mujeres, an imaginary 10-year-old terrorists invading Trump's America from the scary, underdeveloped South. Yes, they are coming to take our jobs, our social services, our arts funding. The nightmare of the dreamers. The ongoing loss of biodiversity, ecocide, genocide, other side, the other side of our psyche. The much needed Me Too movement. The persecution and surveillance of our frail communities of difference. Wow, I am exhausted. I think we're all exhausted from fighting, organizing, resisting, talking back. It's a good thing Mota is legal in California, que no. But the countdown continues. 500 plus years of an ongoing struggle of indigenous peoples for self-determination. 400 years of Afro-Americans struggling for true liberation. 60 years at least of the formalized feminist and queer movements. And here we are in the USA, a fictional and dated nation state, led by a reality bad actor with an orange toupee. That creepy orange thing. And then there is this sudden pandemic locura. High fever over 100, dry coughing, shortness of breath, sore throat, diarrhea, headaches, hypochondria, collective narcolepsy, social hysteria, philosophical despair, political obedience, slowly spiraling down into the vortex of savage capitalism and martial law. Where are we? Who are we? I need a whiskey. Salud.
Maestro, we're all in the same boat, trying to wake from this collective nightmare. As an artist, do you think about democracy often? What boy band does it listen to? What hair cream does it wear? What does Dreamocracy look like to you?
Well, art. In the name of art, people have crucified themselves as a form of protest. People have created fake corporations to denounce environmental injustice and printed useless money and conceptual passports to invent our own countries. In the name of art, people invent mysterious languages, religions, communities, architectures that are more congruent with our needs and aspirations. Artists and writers have envisioned a parallel universe in which our contemporaries can engage in meaningful forms of freedom and creativity. And in this sense, true democracy can only exist in the imagination of art and literature. So, dear virtual audience, are you still here? There? Today, I am your mirror, and you are my temporary community. I am in love with you, enamorado de ti, because as my audience, you are my only salvation and source of hope. And together we can change the course of history, even if only for the duration of this talk. I say, we say. In my world, there is food, clothing, housing, medical attention, and education for everyone, regardless of immigration status. In my world, there is no difference between sameness and difference, and borders are easily crossed, especially those from south to north. In my world, there is no illegal aliens, no others, no good or bad guys. There are no terrorists or crime cartels. In my world, there are no guns because there is no fear. In my world, there is a place for everyone, even if only for the duration of a performance. I say, in my world, people solve their disagreements through dance, performance rituals, and psychomagic actions. In my world, the laws of poetry and quantum physics rule everyday life, and all TV stations are run by artists and poets. Beautiful statements, que no? But are they true? In my world, in my dreamocracy, they are. But if I say, for the duration of this talk, racism does not exist in virtual space, or no one here hates immigrants or queers, is this an accurate statement? Well, yes, in the sense that artistic reality can overshadow social reality for an hour. But if I say art can save lives, is this a correct statement? How so? When a battered woman comes out of a performance determined to leave her violent husband, I'd say art is working. When a gangbanger emerges from a performance thinking, hey, symbolic acts can be powerful ways to express my anger, I am exchanging my gun for a video camera. I say, we're definitely making a difference. So, yes, Victor, Pocha, Carnales, I think democracy cannot thrive without art, without the critical voice of the artist constantly testing its limits and possibilities, without the ethical mirror of art reflecting the distorted features of power.
Guillermo, you speak about psychomachia, an imaginary activism and resistance, and the power of intention, of dreaming something into being, something we can all do, of symbolic resistance becoming real, that the revolution is inside of us. We must exist, persist, and resist, and make art. From where do you draw your energy to continue fighting? What is your source of hope, and what inspires you?
Shit. ¿Qué preguntas, cabrón? Bueno, primero que nada, I don't believe in government. I don't think it is possible to correct the problem from within the system. We have all tried. It doesn't work. The system is the problem, and politics is the art of manipulating the system to perpetrate problems. In my world, the battles I would propose as political candidates are not even politicians. They are artists and literati, visionaries, not functionaries, dreamers, not destroyers. 100,000 AOCs rising from sleep. The country I would like to live in only exists in planet poetry, planet performance, where imagination is the only law. Art is part of everyday life, and everyone practices what they believe. Imagination is my nation. That's where I wish to live and die. But the crucial question remains, where does one find the spiritual energy to continue when you don't believe in mainstream politics and institutionalized religion gives you? What to do when you are too old to belong to a subculture and participate in the global race, and too strange to get a chic job in academia? Where do we locate our dissent when dissent is a corporate product, an HBO special, a perfume, the scent of dissent, anarchique, extreme, suicide? Or when kids can simply wear a t-shirt that say art is resistance and think the job is done? What to do when all master discourses and epic narratives of hope are bankrupt? Which is the best energy drink? Do male enhancers really work? Since 9/11, as my meta horizons began to fade, I became obsessed with hope, with finding its spiritual source and location. Is hope a deep feeling of expansion located on the chest, the abdomen, or the sphincter? Is it a distant marker in the horizon that directs our actions, or a mysterious spiritual energy that propels you into the unknown against the laws of gravity? Is hope a matter of quantum theory, a form of poetic will? Is hope by definition illogical and unreasonable? Can hope be nurtured through education? Does hope put you at odds with the state? Will I vote in the next elections? Unlike the presidential candidates, my hope is not connected to God, country, or economy. My hope is located somewhere else, in obscure books, films, and performances, in small communities that exist under the radar of the media, in the political street of our cities, which are currently in lockdown, in the eyes of my students, in late night conversations at a bar full of outsiders, in animal species I have never seen, in the wisdom of indigenous cultures. My hope is always located on the other side of the border or the mirror. In this very moment, my hope is located in the arms of my invisible audience. My hope is in you, in your keyboards and your dreams and your Zoom visions waiting to be born. Yes, I want to hug you, but there is a formidable border that separates me from your body, the computer screen. The distance that divides and at the same time unites us in a holy space where we can all be free, if only for an hour.
Guillermo, is love.
Is love still an option? Is love still an option, Guillermo?
Repeat it, mi loca, repeat it.
Is love still an option?
Wow, love in times of war, disease, and global warming. Love amidst earthquakes, fires, and floods. Under red alerts and the suspicious purple moon colored by smog and chemical waste. Is it possible to love? Is it possible to love as if 9/11 and the invasion of Iraq never happened? Is it possible to love as if America was a true democracy and an active member of the world community? Can we love as if Trump and the Patriot Act didn't exist? As if the earth wasn't mortally wounded? As if we had open borders and open hearts? As if coronavirus never happened?
Guillermo, but what about art? Is art our salvation?
Yes, in the past, art has saved me from deportation, jail, and mental hospitals. Through naming my antisocial behavior, art has saved me from the jaws of the police, the Border Patrol, and the IRS. True. But I talk about art as critical thought, embodied theory, not a subject or market. I talk about art as in uncompromising art practice, not as in the art world. I call my practice involuntary, imaginary activism. So between, say, being an art world darling, coolie, pronto, and being poor and bitter, I'd rather choose to be an uncompromising dandy, an insider outsider, a mariachi coyote with a big mouth, a performing contradiction, if you will. Contradiction is the name of my favorite lotion. And my job as a performance artist is to avoid simplistic definitions, trends, and adjectives, to remain slippery and evanescent while I continue to ask irritating questions in original ways. What a bizarre job. And I used to get paid for it. I mean, before the travel ban. Merde. I am so moody today. I feel like an existential wolf that went to sleep in the Arctic Circle and woke up on the rooftop of a Manhattan skyscraper.
Guillermo, but back to the question of hope. I wonder if community is still a source of hope. ¿Qué piensas, cabrón?
Ay, Milana. Well, community is one of our obsessions. We long to belong to a larger we because we are obsessed precisely with what we lack. But you know, locos, communities of sameness drive me up the wall. They conjure my asthma, give me a acute vertigo, claustrophobia. My community is not confined by ideological, national, or ethnic boundaries. Mine is a community of difference, and therefore it is fragmented, ever-changing, and temporary. And that's how I like it. My peers, you are scattered all over the pinche planet. You are howling outsiders, jumping all over the planet. Some of you are my peers, others are total strangers in my virtual community of strangers. I long for my peers every night, and hopefully you long for me as well. And every now and then, when we get together, someday soon, I hope, we will lick each other's wounds and dance until the morning after like rabid kangaroos. and they will fall asleep in a circle of accidental bodies. And we will dream of a better place and a better present. In this imaginary place, we dream about artists and writers are actually needed and taken care of. We are considered essential workers. We all have universal medical insurance, a decent lowrider car, and a great studio space in the bohemian hood of our choice. We don't have to write grants, and we get paid decently for what we do, and what we do matters. We make important decisions and fix concrete problems in society. In this imaginary place, we dream about schools, hospitals, prisons, and even airports are reconceptualized and redesigned by artists. The daily newspapers are written by philosophers, novelists, and poets. We have ongoing access to electronic media where we make people think, remember, imagine, and laugh. Politicians and religious leaders consult our opinions before making important decisions. Dream on. We collaborate with progressive doctors, activists, educators, lawyers, priests, socially conscious scientists in the great project of co-imagining a better future for the borderless community of humankind. Sounds so corny, but so appealing, you know? In this imaginary place we dream about, there is a place for everyone. Well, almost everyone.
Hi, my name is Lucha Libre. You might know me from such films as Los Rudos También Lloran, Amores Güeros, and Dos Mujeres Una Lucha. You will see me in my new film, Mexican Tiger Blanket King. But I have a message for you, a public lucha announcement. We have a contest to create a new national anthem because the old one doesn't work. And all of you have ideas that can contribute to a new anthem. It can be a cumbia, it can be a norteño, it can be bachata, it can be punk or reggae, not reggaeton, the only rule, not reggaeton. But we want to collect your ideas and we will publish them as part of this Dreamocracy in America project that we are doing together. So send your entries to newanthem@dreamocracyinamerica.org. newanthem@dreamocracyinamerica.org. And if you want to submit it from Brazil or from Europe or from Asia, we want your ideas too. Now, Guillermo, I have a question, my old friend. Can you give us a concrete example of a recent collaboration with someone outside of the art world that affects the rest of the real world?
Ay, mi loco. Well, in the last years, I wrote this Declaration of Human Rights from an artist's perspective with Rupa Maria, an amazing activist, doctor, and rocker in San Francisco, right in the middle of the post-gentrification era, when artists and immigrant communities were getting evicted by the hundreds every day. We performed it live with her band and also recorded it as an album. I can share a few excerpts. Is that okay? Well, everyone has the right to live without fear of eviction, state ordered removal, deportation, displacement, and forced migration. Everyone has the right to not be perceived and treated as foreigners in our own hometown and country. Everyone has the right to cross borders with or without proper documentation, to travel wherever they please and work wherever they need to. Everyone has the right to remain in their communities and in their homes, regardless of ownership, real estate trends, or tech booms. Everyone has the right to occupy any abandoned building or empty public space for the purpose of building shelters and dwellings or simply making art without a permit. Everyone has the right to live without fear of being shot by the police, the border patrol, or citizen vigilantes. We have the right, when in mental crisis, to be treated with loving kindness and radical tenderness instead of pills, indifference, and jails. We have the right to live in the city of our choice without a militarized presence in times of war. We have the right to live strictly from our art. We have the right to live by the enigmatic laws of poetry, bohemia, traditional knowledge, and quantum physics, and not to be perceived as a menace to society. We have the right to speak up in public spaces and gather in public spaces without suffering broken bones, bruised ribs, and degradation at the hands of those who disagree with us or at the hands of the state. We have the right to access dignified universal health care and medication when needed without fear of economic hardship or deportation. We have the right to party, to celebrate life throughout the night until the morning in both private and public spaces without being considered noise terrorists or suspicious neighbors. Everyone has the right to be economically unproductive and still have their basic human dignity and rights protected by the law. Everyone has the right to disrupt business as usual without punishment, to ensure the safety of our food, water, sanity, and air. Everyone has the right to disrupt business as usual without punishment, to ensure the safety of our food, water, sanity, and air. And most importantly, everyone has the right to deny the sovereignty, legitimacy, and authority of any institution or entity that does not abide by the Declaration of Human Rights, even if only in the realm of the imaginary. Yes, and I continue to do white face.
Carnal, I hear minds blowing across the world. I see a community gathered of your friends intimately with you tonight, drinking wine or whiskey. And I feel a glow coming from this, a dream beginning and germinating. Tell us, any last thoughts? How are you avoiding depression and hopelessness and extreme isolation?
Look at me, carnal. Look at me. I'm blogging and comparing notes with my peers online. you know, stuff like, ah, oh, let me access my blog, today's blog. Don't forget who you are. Reinvent your entire artistic practice. Seek advice from your peers. They will tell you exercise, bone dance, bird dance, walk around the block 20 times, shift sidewalks, howl from your rooftop, call on your ancestors, place your hands on your chest and tenderly tell your lungs and your heart that you love them. Engage in performance games. Write. Perform for the iPhone. One project a day. Talk to a doctor or a shaman friend online. Draw 3 cards from your tarot deck. Zoom in if you can. Email those who hate you. Ask for forgiveness. Hug your pet, even if he's an imaginary cryptozoid. Try to make a deal with your landlord, a pact with your shadow. If you live with someone, tell them how much you love them. Walk around the block once again. If the cops get you this time, tell them you're on your way to the pharmacy. But most importantly, don't forget the real threat. President Donald Trump, us, and those like him. And postscript, remember Lokex, artists are also essential workers, and we're in the front line as well. A different front line, but equally important.
Carnal, a vision. Can you give us a vision?
We're having dreams together. We must dream.
From the mountaintop.
A new world into being.
Or the corner. Or the
We
bottle.
must have an answer. Are you glitching, carnal?
No, stop. Hey. Oh. Stay. Oh. Me. Okay. Me. Hey, stop.
Guillermo, I think you have ended your transmission. We thank you for your time and your vision and your conversation to the world. So we're going to wrap up here. We're going to unmute you all to give a collective thank you to Guillermo. But first, we're going to
Gracias, Pato.
Gracias.
Todos, saludos.
Gracias. Muchas gracias.
Estoy llorando, mi amor. Felicidad.
Somos radical, Guillermo, muchas gracias.
No estén llamando al manager mío que no quiere cuarto, no. Que no quiere cuarto, no. Imagínate yo, el ascensor no baja, no. Solamente mi cuenta de banco tampoco baja. Solamente súbete, mami, que en esta vuelta no con lento. Ay, lento es lo
Pocha.
Right, thank you, everybody. I want to remind you, Guillermo has a brand new website. As a seller, how to connect with Guillermo, email, and Facebook account, current project, how to get most 21 books. You can also donate. Guillermo Gomez-Peña.com. I am Victor Payan. And we welcome you to Dreamocracy.org. Please follow us next week. We'll have a conversation with Wednesday culture class. Wednesday next week. The week after that, Lopez, D. Robert Lopez will be there. He's running for president. Lopez for president. So, get us at democracyinamerica.org. And hopefully our project at patreon.com/democracy. Thank you, world. Good night. The dream has begun.